Hey, what's up guys, Mark here. I hope you're all doing well, I hope you're staying healthy and all that. So, it's been a while since I did a video on Onision, and I thought that today would be the perfect time to cover another story about the Onion Man. So recently, an article actually came out on Newsweek titled, "YouTuber Onision's Dad Wants to Set the Record Straight About Their Relationship." So this article is pretty interesting, because I'm sure a lot of you, when you see people like Onision, when you see people like Dahvie Vanity, and they do all these terrible things, you might be wondering, where are their parents? And that's exactly what I wonder every time I read stories like the ones we've been hearing. Let's start things off. Onision's dad, Randy Daniel, said, "It's hard to watch and hear about all this stuff involving your son. It's hard to talk about, second guessing if I could have done anything differently, and just wished that things were very different than they are right now." He says that his son has made a mess of his life, which, as I'm sure we all know at this point, is kind of the case. So I actually do feel bad for his parents. I mean, I don't know if they had any part in Greg becoming who he is now. I would hope that they didn't, but in a lot of cases like this, the parents do have some sort of impact on how their kids turn out. As a matter of fact, I mean, who am I kidding? That's the case in most cases, honestly. It's interesting to see that his parents, both of his parents, Randy and Deborah, do have their own take on this. And I'll be including a link to the article in the description if you guys would like to read it for yourselves. It is very interesting, and I was surprised to hear what they thought about this. His mom, Deborah, even addressed how Greg would go after people who talk about him online, and I'm surprised that she's 100% aware of what he's been doing on the internet and how he's been treating the people that have been talking about him. And as we know, he has not been treating them well, so I'm glad that his parents are speaking out and expressing their disappointment in their son. I honestly thought his parents had no idea what was going on, because I know that if my parents, or if most of your parents, I'm sure, knew that you were doing stuff that Onision was doing and behaving that way on the internet, they would probably bring the hammer down and, you know, you'd probably snap out of it after a while. There's another great quote from his mom that says, "I don't know where he got it, that it's okay to treat women like this or anybody like this," and she says it's mind-boggling that he has this fascination with his younger fans. Just for context, Deborah is Greg's stepmom, but I might refer to her as mom just, you know, for the sake of convenience or because I just forget sometimes. Now, Onision's biological mother did not comment at all, so I won't be including anything about her in this video. But I do have some photos of a young Onision from this article that I will be putting up so that you guys can see that, and I mean just for entertainment value, to be honest. So moving on from that, Greg's biological dad, Randy, was talking about how the divorce was so impactful, not only on him, but I'm sure impactful on James. Greg also goes by James, so there's a lot of confusion here, so Greg equals James, keep that in mind. That confused me a lot just because, you know, Onision's changing his name every 5 minutes. Just keep that in mind. I'll just call him Greg for the rest of this video. It's too confusing. And they say he was a very difficult teenager, which I'm sure is not a surprise to anybody, and he was very difficult to get under control. And obviously, that explains a lot about him. I mean, that's no surprise. He was so out of control that his stepmom told their neighbor that, quote, "If you see anything strange going on in the house, call the police." So according to his dad, Greg threatened to burn down the house a couple of times, and he would go off on these tangents, and probably these raging tangents. And I'll post the quote right here if you guys want to read it. I'll just paraphrase it. But he would basically get angry, and we all saw those meltdown videos that he made. I know that people are saying those meltdowns were fake. At least one of them was real. You know, there was the meltdown over the Patreon fiasco, but all in all, it shows that he's a very chaotic person in the sense that he really doesn't have much control over his emotions, and this lets itself out in a lot of different ways. And clearly that was the case when it came to his teenage years, where he would have these big meltdowns and outbursts that would carry with him through his adult life. Greg had actually ended up at juvie once, which I'm sure is not much of a surprise to most of you. Wasn't a surprise to me, but it really goes to show how far this aggression took him. His stepmom said, and I quote, "We never saw him take responsibility except that one time when he's behind bars." And that really, it was like it snapped him out of it. He was acting like a normal, scared kid at that point. So it's kind of insane to think that it took him going to juvie to even accept a tiny amount of responsibility for his actions. Now, of course, Greg has shared his side of the story. He's written a number of books, which I haven't read, but I've heard from people who have read them, and they don't sound so great. This book, titled "This Is Why I Hate You," goes into his childhood and the story that he wants to tell about how he was brought up. And in that book, he makes some pretty big allegations against his father especially, and says that the incident that led him to juvie was actually just self-defense. Now, of course, I'm not really going to challenge the validity of that statement, but just know that Greg has a track record of kind of stretching the truth and making things seem a lot worse than they are, or just simply gaslighting, which is the case with a lot of people like him. Like in my last video about Dahvie Vanity, we saw that gaslighting was a huge part of the manipulation tactics that he was using to evade justice. So obviously that's something that someone like Onision would like to do as well, just because it makes him look better. And we know he's done this a bunch of times. I mean, we saw his videos responding to Shiloh, for example, or responding to the other girls that he was with, and all of them basically made him look like the perfect person and made everybody else look crazy. I mean, just look at the animations he's been putting out right now on his YouTube channel, and you'd get an idea of what I'm talking about. Now, what is interesting about this article, and is something that I actually didn't know about Greg until this point, is that he used to be in the military. He was in the Air Force. And according to his dad, at one point he was assigned to Korea. He was military police and he wanted to change to non-combatant while he only had 3 months left in his tour. So of course his parents told him that this was a horrible idea, and like the person Greg is, he did not take that advice. And then, I mean, since then he had his I'm a Banana video go viral. That was kind of the start of his online career. And apparently his parents actually watched the videos that he was putting out until he started making videos about them, and of course naturally they just stopped watching. But they did have to take some legal precautions. So for example, Onision's biological dad consulted a number of attorneys. Since Onision wasn't mentioning his parents by name, they didn't have to go to court or anything, so of course nothing came of that. I don't know whether or not Greg was telling the truth in his books, but I do kind of have to feel bad for his parents. I mean, his dad never got to see his grandkids, and he still wants to have some sort of relationship with his son, but I don't think that's ever going to happen. And now that we know that Greg has done all these horrible things, I do have to feel bad for his parents, just because their kid has become someone who's so infamous online and has done so many terrible things. So I only hope that his parents could help in some way to bring their son to justice, or get through to him somehow, so either he could get help, or he could realize the error of his ways, maybe one day become a positive member of society. Maybe that's asking too much, right? But I just wanted to share this with you guys. I thought it was a very interesting article, and once again, the link is in the description so that you guys could read it at your own leisure. I just wanted to bring it up, and I might make more Onision videos in the future if this one does well. Let me know in the comments if you guys would like to see more videos like this. I'd be happy to make them. And with that said, thank you all so much for watching. I will see you all next time. Peace.